March Committee on Aging meeting. We'll have the roll call, please.
Peggy Bellin. Here. Claude Benedict. Lurton Blassingame.
Here.
Sandy Kleckel. Here. Judy Ritchie.
Here.
Julie Maslowski. Here. Deb Allison Osby. Jean Wallerman.
Here.
Ron Durkop.
Here.
Okay. And we welcome our newest member, Ron Durkop. And if you could just give us a brief history of why you're interested in us
Okay.
and your years of working in aging.
Okay. Brief history. Well, I've been working with older adults and older adult issues since 1975. Working with the Winnebago County Social Service Department initially, and then with the Human Services Department when it became Human Services back in '95, I think it was. So anyway, supervised the older adult service team, and then later the Aging and Disability Resources, Information and Assistance, and Adult Protective Services staff. So it's kind of been life's work, I guess, in a way to at least be interested in it. And now as a senior citizen myself, I'm even more interested. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview.
And he's been very helpful because of this continuing contact with what's going on in policy and legislation. And when we met for an orientation, came up with some really good ideas of things that we can consider doing in the future, and we'll be discussing it different times as we go on. Everybody has a copy of the minutes from last month's meeting. Any additions or corrections?
I just have a suggestion.
Yes,
and
sir.
that would be that I think FC and FD of our agenda from last time, we were covered, but there were no reports. And just a suggestion that maybe that be included in the minutes, that no report for those two items.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Otherwise, it just drops off with B as though we didn't finish the agenda or something.
You want approval?
Yes, please.
Move approval of the minutes as distributed with suggestions.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Are there any citizen statements? I would like to welcome Chris Kniep, who is observing us today, considering our group as one of her activities in the future. But she is also very busy with Friends of the Senior Center and a number of other groups, so welcome, Chris. Okay, and new business, Emily Springstrow, Communications Coordinator for the city. Welcome.
That way. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate the invite and having the opportunity to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about what my department does and how we might be able to help you guys get your message out there to the public and maybe just gain some awareness of what you guys do and the work that you're doing. Before I get into I have just a really brief presentation about what we do, but I handed out some cards, and I just would like to get a little plug in there for State of the City. I encourage everybody to come out on Monday, March 19th. Doors open at 6. If you have not been to the State of the City, it's a really great event. It's a great opportunity to talk with city department leaders, city officials about different projects that are going on, kind of put a name to some of the faces that you hear about on a weekly basis. And it's just a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about what's going on.
They have wonderful handouts too, many of the.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. And then in addition to that, the other little card that I passed out was the Pulco card. If you've not heard of it yet, we have initiated some new software on the city website that enables us to ask questions to the public and get public input in a new way. And it's been working out pretty well so far. Right now we've got the citizen survey posted as the online version. In the past, I think they have used SurveyMonkey. But what's really interesting about Pulco is that they can cross-reference people who enter their name and address with the voter registration file. So you can really make sure that the people that are responding to your poll are in fact Oshkosh residents. Now you can still see the other results of people who are not residents as well, but you have the opportunity to see, for sure who those people are. Well, not who they are, but where they're from. So it's a really cool thing. It's another great way to give input. Obviously, we're still using all of our other channels and tools that we do for public input, but I encourage you guys to check that out too.
Is there some protocol as to how that's all going to be used?
How PULCO will be used?
Yes. Right.
It's going to be rolled into the other public input process. So it's not the end all be all to decisions that are being made in the city. It's just another way to gain a perspective of what people are thinking and what they want, what their opinions are on different issues. So I think we've only posted about 4 or 5 questions so far in addition to the citizen survey that's currently out. So we are working with the PULCO staff on, ironing out any of the kinks that we've had so far, which hasn't been too bad, and continuing to promote that and get people aware of the fact that it's there and that it's a great opportunity to tell us what you think. So the PULCO team will also be at State of the City, so if you need help downloading the app or getting signed up, they will be there too that night on Monday the 19th. And if you can't make it to State of the City, just give me a call and I'd be happy to help you guys out getting that downloaded and everything too. So, just a brief overview today for the Media Services Department. We're made up of 3 staff members. Myself, Jake Tim, our operations coordinator, who is working the controls in the background right now, covering this meeting, and Scott Williams, our video editing technician. He's also the Oshkosh FM manager. 3 staff members, and we are all extremely, extremely busy on a daily basis. All of our job descriptions kind of intersect, and it's we make up a really good team, and I think we all work pretty well together. So who we are, some of you might already be familiar with some of our channels. We're made up of GovTV, which is our local government programming. On that channel, we air government meeting coverage such as this meeting, council meetings, a lot of other meetings. We have the police department and fire department and the senior center actually too have television programs that they host and broadcast on GovTV. It's available on Spectrum Cable Channel 10 or AT&T UVerse 99, and all of the programming is also available on our website, oshkoshmedia.org, and on our YouTube page. I post most videos on our Facebook page as well, so there's a lot of different channels that we're using to get those messages out there. In addition to that, we do another little program called Your City at Work, where we highlight different city departments and the work that they're doing. We broadcast the League of Women Voters Candidates Forum.
This Thursday.
Yep, this Thursday coming up. Various historical program, other local government related program, a few small syndicated programs, I think, from around the state. So a lot of really good information going out on that channel that is just awesome. You can watch that one live on our website as well. Life TV is our community channel. This is a really neat thing in Oshkosh that I think is under I guess people are not aware of it. It's our public access programming, and so people have the opportunity to create content and broadcast it on this channel. If you're a resident of Oshkosh, you can have a program that airs on Life TV. So that's really neat. We have a lot of church services that people cover that they broadcast on there, different event coverage, a few local sports coverage. I think there's some hockey games and races and things like that that people air presentations. We've also got some local in-studio programs for that channel, such as Helping Hands, which Judy hosts, United Way, and then also the Winnebago County Health Department program called Rethink. I think they're working on a new name for that one, but some really great programs for nonprofits and volunteer opportunities and things like that, and it's just a really rich representation of the awesome things that are happening in our community, and it really is a great thing, a great local source of information for Oshkosh. And then finally, Oshkosh FM is our low-power FM radio station. It's located at 101.9 FM, and pretty much everything, a lot of the things that we air on our TV channels, we can also broadcast on Oshkosh FM. So the main things are the government meetings are also broadcast on the radio station. We have a few local community radio talk shows. Tracy Robertson from Fit Oshkosh has a really great show called Real Gospel, so I would highly recommend that one. It's a great show. And then just a wide variety of music, a very
And that
eclectic
music,
mix
I
of
love
music.
that on Sunday mornings, that polkas are on there.
The polka. You wouldn't believe how many
Polka
calls we
music,
get about the
polka.
polka. The polka and the vintage country are the two popular genres there. So it's great to hear that feedback too. But yeah, very wide variety of music, a mix of music, and then a few of those blocks on the weekends that we do. All three of these channels have capabilities for, in an emergency, we are able to wipe all programming and get emergency messages out there. I think in the past there had been, a train fire or something that we did. There was, these chemical leaks and things like that where there's evacuation situations. So these are really great tools to use to, get a message out to people in an emergency situation, and we have used those in that way before. So in addition to the three channels that we do, we are a city department, and we assist city departments and the city manager and represent the city of Oshkosh in a variety of ways. This is just a short list of some of the things that we do. I was quick typing this up yesterday, and I'm like, it would take several slides to get everything out here, but all I can say is no 2 days are the same in our department. It depends on what's going on. Some days we're running out to a groundbreaking. Other days we're going to a local nonprofit and interviewing people about what they're doing. And then, of course, Scott and Jake are very busy with our government meeting programs. There's usually 2, 3, 4 meetings a week that they're covering in the evenings. So that keeps us pretty busy. In addition to that, we do informational video segments. This has been a huge one for us, especially since social media has taken off. We've been doing a lot of abbreviated, shorter 2 to 5 minute videos that we're putting out there that are just overview informational segments. So, for example, we did one pretty recently on salt and brine and how that's used in the city of Oshkosh, and how much money is being saved by using the brining process. Just getting information out there to people that usually would be happening behind the scenes and people wouldn't even realize is taking place. We did a video on the South Park project when that got going to help people understand what was going to be happening out there. The water tower, we got inside the water tower and did a cool, brief video on that. The Riverwalk, the arena, parks updates, street projects, the fire department does little videos. It just goes on and on. The different brief videos that we can put out there, we're seeing really great engagement with those.
And you archive these,
Yes.
and then there's a directory, so if you want to run down, you can ask for one.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And they're all available on our website, like I said. So our website is set up very similarly to YouTube. So we have different playlists that they're pretty easy to find if you're looking for a specific topic or a date of a meeting or things like that. But of course, like I said, if you ever are looking for a specific one and you can't find it, just give me a call and I can hunt it down for you.
Thank you.
In addition to the informational video segments, we do event coverage ranging from parades, like the 4th of July parade, which Judy and John host, which is just awesome. We do the Memorial Day procession. We cover the holiday parade. And a lot of the parade coverage is in partnership with the Friends of OCM. So that is less a city side of what we do and more a community side of the things that we do with the parade coverage. Public input meetings, we go to several of those to broadcast, what people are saying and, trying to get the message out there that the public input meeting is happening too. So just covering different various events that we might not necessarily be involved in with planning. Media relations is a huge part of my specific role. Over the last 5 years that I've been here, I think that the relationship with our media folks has improved. The relationship with the people at the Northwestern and up in Green Bay, the TV channels and WOSH, just trying to keep that connection and that relationship strong is very important for the city, and just making sure that we're getting the information out and being a transparent city as much as we can. So that's a big part of what I do, as well as social media management. That kind of goes hand in hand, whereas it just increases the transparency of what we've got going on here at the city. And yeah, just engaging our citizens and trying to keep keep an eye on the pulse of what people are talking about and what's going on. The city manager has been really supportive of the social media aspect. He understands that it is growing and that more people are accessing information in this way as local information is starting to fade. Unfortunately, people are going to social media to get their news. So we've really kind of amped up our social media efforts, and it's been looking pretty good, especially with the little videos that we're posting. I find that we've gotten great interaction and some really good thoughts and opinions on those. Moving on into website maintenance. This is an interesting one. It's going to be evolving over the next year as the city takes a look at a refresh of the city website. Right now, we were just talking before the meeting that there are some updates that need to be made on this board's website. So I'll take care of that, but we're working on designating roles for who is responsible for what content on the city website because it is such a huge animal. So I do a little bit of website maintenance. Mostly I am responsible for the homepage. So posting any media releases, press releases that we have coming out, any of the hot topic items that are on that front page I'm managing. And then for various little updates that people might need, I can help them out with that as well. And I work very closely with the IT department with that. They do most of it. I should say that they do most of it. Event planning is another big one. We've got quite a few things going on throughout the year, depending on what's going on. So we've got groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings, especially in the last year. It's been crazy, the amount of development that's been going on in Oshkosh. So we play a huge role in the planning of that, the promotion of it, and then we are out there making the event happen, as well as recording it so that people who can't make it are able to watch it after the fact. Obviously, the State of the City is the biggest project that our department has every year. We are behind that event. We work closely with the city manager on his presentation, collecting video, doing interviews with people, man on the street type of interviews, and getting the information together for that, promoting it, and then, of course, recording it and making it available to the public if they are not able to make it to that event. Open houses, we've been trying to get, I think, 1 or 2 open houses for departments per year, per quarter. I'm not sure what the goal was for that, but I'm assisting the departments in their open house planning and promotion as well. And then media conferences, of course, if there are big things happening in the city and there's a necessity for a media conference, such as with the police department or a big development like with the Oshkosh Corp situation in the arena and things like that, I assist with that as well. Photography, video collection, like I said, I could talk for hours about all the things that we do, and it's a really exciting job, and it's impossible to get bored, but we have a lot of fun, and I think that what we're doing is really benefiting the city and helping our residents to not only trust their local government, but also to become interested and engaged and excited about the things that are going on here at the city. So, any questions on that?
I was going to ask you a question.
Sure.
I was watching TV. Of course, Channel 2 is a bigger channel than everything on Channel 10. But they were showing that people hardly prepared the roads before the snow came up with brine and all that.
Yep.
You put stuff on Channel 10 to show that people can say, hey, this is how your money is being spent to try to prevent snow removal for that.
Yes. The brine video that we did was kind of like that. We've been wanting to do a video very similar to that one.
It's different.
Unfortunately, it's a little tough on days like this because it's always unplanned. So one of these times, one of the big snow events that we'd love to do a video with the plows, but that one's a difficult one to plan because when the weather like today we've got, the last thing on Kevin Ewan's mind is how are we going to, hey, let us just stop and pick you up with one of the plows. And they're trying to get out there and get the snow done. So, but that has been on our list for several years, and we really would love to do something like that.
I know you're doing your best.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the brine thing was the closest that we could get to it not the closest we could get, but the easiest way to plan it because it was something that we could do on a non-snow event day. So yeah, I know I'll have to tell Scott that you mentioned that because he's been dreaming of getting on a plow, attaching our GoPro to a plow and things like that. It would be really cool. So yeah, that's a great one.
Emily, are you essentially the contact then with, say, the Northwestern and the major television media as far as the city is concerned? You're
Yes.
kind of the
I'm the point
PR
person.
person,
The police department, the fire department have their own PIO as well.
Okay.
But as far as any of the other city departments, if any reporter or media member is looking to do an interview, I urge them to contact me first because I can help them find the right person, and I can usually track them down a little bit easier because it does sometimes get hard to reach people in a timely way because people tend to run around City Hall and are hard to find. So yes, I am that contact person.
And is your office on the main floor at the other end?
Yes,
Yeah,
our
okay.
office is on the first floor of City Hall. We have our own entrance on the left-hand side of the building if you're
Right.
coming from the main
Okay.
parking lot. And I'd be happy to give a tour if anyone is ever wanting to stop down. It's pretty cool down there. We're making some pretty big updates in the coming months with our technology.
Sure.
And yeah, it's kind of fun to show people around down there. A lot of times when we do tours, they're like, I didn't even know this existed down here. And we have a pretty neat little studio and everything. So if you ever are in City Hall, feel free to stop by and I'm happy to show you around.
And you've got your phone, I see, you've got your phone number there. Okay.
Yes, yep, I'll give you my contact information that's on the last slide. So just really briefly then, what we can do for you, some of the things that I was kind of brainstorming about for this specific board, the ways that we can help you out. The biggest one is a board and commission PSA. It's been one of our department goals over the last 2 years to create an informational public service announcement for each of our boards and commissions. So we have 3 or 4 under our belt right now. We've got 2 more planned for this quarter, this quarter. So I just want to assure you that you will be coming up, and so we'll be doing a public service announcement, just telling people an overview of what it is that you do, why you do it, where they can find more information. And typically the board chair would be the person that would be reading a script and helping us out with that. And I'll work closely with Judy on drafting that script and getting it recorded. And it's a very smooth and easy process. So I'll be reaching out to you guys hopefully within the next 6 months on getting that done. So that's a big one. And that's a really great thing to share. You can share it via email list, social media. It's just a really good opportunity. It's evergreen. It doesn't ever go stale. So it's just a nice thing to have in your back pocket when you're trying to promote this and tell people about what you do. Like I was talking about the informational video segments, we've got our show called Oshkosh Today that airs on the community channel, as well as Your City at Work on GovTV. And if you have specific projects that you're working on for this board, or if you have a specific event that's coming up or anything, give me a call and I'd be happy to do a brief little informational video for you as well. That will air on our channels and on our social media, city website, various things too. So I don't know how many of those types of projects you have on an annual basis, but it's a pretty easy way to get your message out, and we're happy to do it, and we've had great interaction with those small videos. Social media assistance. I was thinking about social media heading into this meeting for this board, and there is one other board that does have a Facebook page, the Rental Housing Advisory Board. They have a ton of content. I don't know if I would recommend it to have a Facebook page or a social media page for this specific board, just because I just don't think there would be enough content to keep it alive and keep it successful. And so I wanted to talk about a little bit how you can use other social media pages, how you can have a presence on social media without actually having a page dedicated to you. I know that the Senior Center has a great social media presence, a huge following. The Parks Department has an enormous following. And then, of course, I manage the Oshkosh Media Facebook page and the city's Twitter account. So once again, anything that you have going on, shoot me an email. It's a very easy thing for me to just make a quick post and get that message out there in that way. You have a built-in follower base that way too, and that would be my recommendation to the board as far as how you would use social media in the future. And then finally, that last point is just a really informal recommendation is I've got great connections with the media. So if you have things that are going on, or if you want me to kind of just give a little plug next time I see or talk to people or shoot an email over, I'm happy to do that. Like I said, the relationship with the media I feel has been pretty good. And so I'm happy to use those connections if you'd like me to assist you in getting your message out. Any media releases or things like that, I'm happy to help you out with. So with that, I've got my contact information here if you ever have any questions or if you'd like to, discuss any of these topics a little bit more detail, I'm happy to do that. Feel free to stop by our office, like I said. My email and phone number's out there, and be sure to check out our website. There's a ton of information on there that is, I think, pretty interesting. So, any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much
Great
for having
help.
me.
Thank you, Emily.
Definitely. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I've got to run to another meeting, so I apologize.
Okay, we'll proceed to old business. Committee reports, strengthen our partnership with neighborhood associations and other partners. Jean?
Okay, as part of the strategic plan, we have, one of our goals is to meet with the neighborhood association group called Go H&I in the spring. So Ann Schaefer and I had met to briefly talk about what we're going to be doing at that meeting. And then she will be setting that meeting up with Sandy and I and with some representatives from the Go H&I group, which is the Greater Oshkosh Healthy Neighborhood Incorporation, and then also with One Oshkosh, which is the Our Neighborhoods Engage. So I did give you information regarding these two neighborhood initiatives. And then I did want to just briefly share with you where people can find the neighborhood information on the city website, because it's kind of to me, it wasn't right out there right away. So it was a little confusing. So I wanted to make sure that people are aware of where they can find the neighborhood information. So if you go on to the city website, and this little mouse here, if I can operate it correctly, you go to I Want To section, and then you drop it all the way down to the Learn About Neighborhoods. So it brings you to the Oshkosh neighborhoods and what is a neighborhood, and it gives you all the information regarding what is the neighborhood. And then if you go into the Great Neighborhood groups, it does take you to all of the different neighborhood associations. So people can go on and try to find their neighborhood. And it gives you their contact information, their bylaws. So each neighborhood is on this section. Any of you see any of your neighborhoods?
So Jean, that would include all of the current 15
The-
associations that exist in the
Yes.
city? Okay.
So again, if you looked at, if you were in the Millers Bay neighborhood, you can look at the street information. Then you can look at their website, and then you can look at their neighborhood plan. It takes you through their board, some of the history, neighborhood history group, and their visions, and where it's all located. So I would advise all of you to go to the website, go on to each one of the neighborhoods so that you are more familiar with all of the different neighborhoods that are in this section. Again, I found it was a little hard to find at first because I was looking for like maybe a department, but once I got into it, it's a really nice site. So again, go into I Want To, and then drop down to Learn About Neighborhoods.
Pretty obvious once you see it.
And this would be a work product of the Oshkosh media? I mean, as far as they take care of all of the web information and posting and keeping this up?
I do
from
believe, I
all the
think,
neighborhoods?
right,
Is that how that works?
I would think that it would be. I'm not, I guess that would be a question for
Yeah, for Emily,
Emily.
yeah.
Yeah, so, that's all I have regarding the neighborhoods right now. Again, we'll be meeting, Ann Schaefer will be setting that spring meeting up with all of us. So we'll continue our work with the neighborhoods, so.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Improving access to affordable transportation and delivery services for seniors. And last month, I attended the East Central Regional Planning Commission meeting on transportation. There are a couple of initiatives that they're working on. One is to develop a central call point for rides, working through making the ride happen with Lutheran Social Services, and it'll be covering more than one county. But they will filter the calls, coming in and then letting folks know what their options are there. And the other was, Holly was trying to develop sort of a flow chart of the number of transportation groups, and it was sort of overwhelming because although Peggy's nodding her head, all these little startups or little niche type programs. But I think as far as our committee, we are sort of in agreement that we're going to piggyback on what we're learning from these other groups already. And I think that's pretty much, do you have anything new, Peggy?
Who funds the call-in place?
Okay, Lutheran Social Services is the primary, and they get their funds through various grants and other entities. And they've got a well-established reputation with making the ride happen in the Appleton area and extending down now to the Oshkosh area. Okay, Claude, do you have anything new?
Is there anything close to this transportation you have here, that, to give people this kind of a price to get them from the hospital to the doctors or whatever? Like, I think there's one in town called Running or somebody.
Running Inc., and that was covered last month with Jim Collins with the transportation presentation we had.
Okay.
So,
You
well,
did-
you can go back in your notes from last month.
Okay.
Okay,
Sometimes people forget if you don't keep reminding them.
right.
Thank you, though, for this. It's interesting.
Telephone number or contact for the social services, transportation?
A lot of that was on that spreadsheet that we had last month. Remember, Jim gave us that legal size, and the
Okay.
phone numbers are on that sheet. Okay. Create community design and policy that supports an age-friendly community. In Lurton, that was you.
In terms of the policy, the main one is having to do with ramps to get in. More and more people may be thinking of putting a ramp, get into their building or wherever. 2 places you need to go if you have a building that's been built in the last 40 years. And the first one is the City of Oshkosh permit, and they give you a 2-page handout talking about how to apply and fees and materials and then technical things, slopes and landings and widths and services. In addition to that, you also need to get the City of Oshkosh Planning Department and zoning ordinance. It has to, no matter when it was built, it needs to comply with the zoning code requirements. And they have the aesthetic requirements, removals, setbacks, and they give you little maps. So this you always need, and you can get it at the planning department front desk. This, from the building inspector, you need if it's in basically the last 40 years, and that's also available at the front desk at the planning department, and they're both on the second floor. So if somebody has a question, here's where to go, and they'll probably also help you determine how much it'll cost, which will be more than you thought.
Does anyone have any questions for him? Okay.
Oh, I talked to the assistant city attorney, asking if he had any ideas about existing policies that would relate to seniors. And he said he'd think about it, but nothing came to mind offhand other than the possibility of family ramp permits.
Do you know if there's still restrictions or whatever regarding the, is it the Larson Winchester Lions Club, who used to provide some ramp, temporary ramp building within the city? Then they were kind of out of it for a while because they weren't meeting certain zoning requirements. Is that changed, or
I have
still?
no idea.
Don't know, okay. Others have any idea?
I thought there was something mentioned at a meeting with Mark Weisensell a while back, that there was a possibility of them being involved again.
I had heard that too, and I was just wondering if
But
it
it-
was,
How far, I don't know.
a very helpful service to a lot of people I know for a lot of years. That they could have a temporary ramp put in place, and then it would be removed by the volunteers from the Larson Winchester Lions Club once it was no longer needed. So it wasn't a permanent structure. But
Did they have a limit on how long it could be there before your temporary structure ran out?
I guess it was as long as that person needed it, and then
Ooh.
when they went to a nursing home or were no longer in their own home, that would be removed.
Oh.
They could reuse parts of it with other home situations around, I think, multiple county area here that they serve.
So Lurton, you have the permanent handicap ramp information. So maybe what we could do is report at the next meeting, follow up with the Lions to see if there is any other resource materials from them. Might be helpful if it's a
This was
temporary
Lions-
situation.
Yeah, Larson Winchester Lions Club, yeah. I can get you the contact. info.
Great, good, appreciate it.
That's the same organization that has the durable medical equipment loan closet. And very helpful to not only seniors, but the disabled in the community.
Judy, I have a couple other things that you just let me know if this is kind of out of the zone here. But it had to do with, just a reminder, I think, that people are going to see some activity regarding Medicare cards coming up real soon now, starting with April. The CMS, which manages Medicare, Medicaid programming for the country, will begin sending out new Medicare cards to beneficiaries beginning this April. Cards will be mailed in 7 waves by groups of states over the next year. And all beneficiaries should receive a new card by April of next year. So I think it's probably one of those things where it's ripe for scams of, trying to contact people and say, well, listen, have you gotten your card yet? Well, no, I haven't. Well, what's your social security number? Maybe I can help you, that kind of stuff, which, I'm sure there's going to be efforts to try and get at people's personal information and scam them. So just kind of a reminder for people who might view this, or you as you work with individuals
And
that.
if we put things out, remind people that the government doesn't contact you by phone. They contact you by letter.
Exactly
If you
right,
get something on the phone, be careful.
exactly right.
And actually, this sort of falls under the improved communication and visibility of available services to seniors, which is what we've talked about, trying to get that information out there. So this would be an ideal opportunity to have Emily's group do a PSA,
That'd be a good idea.
and so it's a foot in the door already for us. And what other,
Yeah, there's a couple other things that are going on at the state level that impact us older folks. The Assembly Bill 628, it's called the Silver Alert Referral. You're probably familiar with the Silver Alert system across the state. Well, there's some legislation that has now been passed from Assembly to the Senate, is at the state level now, that would, well, the essence of it, I won't share the whole thing, but it has to do with if there's a silver alert issued for an individual, that individual would ultimately be referred to a local aging and disability resource center to follow up, see if there's any services that they might be in need of, as well as that person's guardian if they have one, or their agent if they have an activated power of attorney for health care. Once that person is found, and because obviously if they're going through, meet the criteria for a silver alert, there's some issues there that maybe that person can get some help for. And the second part of that is that they would be referred, if they were operating a motor vehicle at the time of the missing person silver alert, that they would be referred to the Department of Transportation for kind of a review of whether that person is capable of driving. And they would then be
Thank you.
following up with that individual to take another look at the driving situation. Another one has to do with Assembly Bill 629, which is the adult guardianship, uniform adult guardianship jurisdiction legislation. What they're trying to do is to have some uniformity across states in terms of how guardianships happen and are transferred from one state to another. We're quite a mobile society, and people do move from Wisconsin to Illinois or Florida, Arizona, or vice versa, and to have some uniformity in the guardianship statutes so that the transfer of guardianship can occur more smoothly is what that bill is really all about. And again, this is another one that has been transferred from the Assembly. It's been passed in the Assembly overwhelmingly bipartisan, and is now on to the Senate. Now, whether there was enough time left for the Senate to act in this session, I'm not sure of that. And then one final one there is the Assembly Bill 655. It has to do with decision-making agreements. And this has to do with functional impairment of older adults, as well as it would impact developmentally disabled, intellectually disabled individuals as well. It stops short of that person being found to be mentally incompetent, in other words, needing a guardian, but a person could sign up for having a support decision maker, and this would be an individual who can have the authority to get information from medical entities, say the Aging and Disability Resource Center, to assist that person in making decisions regarding housing and health care and finances and this sort of thing. They're still their own decision maker, but they've essentially got a person who's formally a support to them. And this would be a legal document. They could step outside of that and still make decisions on their own. And this person cannot make decisions for them. It's just that they become kind of a person who can assist them
I
in
think
thinking through things.
Wonderful idea.
Yeah.
In churches, it often goes to Pastor Nancy or someone who will
Sure.
talk to someone in the congregation who's getting to that stage. And so this would be it's such a community-wide
Yeah.
function that way. Wonderful.
So, and that's another of a pack of bills. There were 5 different bills having to do with dementia-related kinds of things that have also, this one has also passed the Assembly and is now on to the Senate. So I think those are worthy pieces of legislation. Hopefully they do get passed and don't just die because the session ends here.
Would they be reintroduced at the same time?
I think they would be. If they do die because of the session ends, I'm confident they'll be reintroduced,
And
hopefully earlier in the, in the next session so they get through. Yeah.
And do you know of opposition to any of those?
Very little, if any.
Good, okay.
Yeah, they're very popular, bipartisan pieces of legislation.
I appreciate what you're talking about, because I tried to make it to Gordon Hintz's office, and at least I got something to talk about now.
Okay,
And
there you go.
I use that quite when I can make it all the time, so everybody can get the information out. So if I go and make it, I'll bring some of this up in front of him and see how he's voting on it.
Okay, sounds good. And I guess one other area just has to know, this is more at the national level, having to do with the Bipartisan Budget Acts that was just passed by Congress for the 2018 budget year. Well, I'll just read a section of this. It says that last month, Congress reached an agreement on a new higher spending limit for discretionary programs in fiscal 18 and 19 as part of a Bipartisan Budget Act of 2018. The next step is to pass appropriations under those new spending limits or another continuing resolution, which they're quite adept at, before the current continuing resolution expires on March 23rd. So all the appropriations for things that happened in that act have not occurred yet, and they've got till the 23rd of this month to get that to happen. Just 2 of the things that are part of that Bipartisan Budget Act of 2018 have to do with funding outreach to low-income Medicare beneficiaries, and that includes SHIP, or the Elderly Benefit Specialists, that we probably know about from the Aging and Disability Resource Center, as well as funding services, some of the services provided through Aging and Disability Resource Centers, and also a National Center for Benefits and Outreach Enrollments. That has to do with trying to reach out to people who become eligible for Medicare but don't know that they need to do some things to go on to get Medicare, so that people get services or get that health care coverage when they ought to. And the other big one is Part D donut hole closure. This Bipartisan Budget Act actually will close the budget hole 1 year earlier than it was scheduled. It was scheduled to go to close in 2020, and that's the Affordable Care Act and the donut hole for Medicare Part D, the drug coverage. So hopefully that occurs and it closes next year, which means that people will pay 25% of their medication bill rather than what we experience today with the donut hole. And so it'll be a little more straightforward and understandable for people and less costly. So hopefully that fits under that category. I didn't want to go too far from this.
It fits under 2 categories,
All
so
right.
we've got that covered. We actually do not have a committee representative for the improving communication and visibility of available services to seniors. If we've got a volunteer to do it, otherwise Ron and I have talked about maybe, at least in the short term, that we can do some assistance there.
Good. Ron, Judy?
Thanks.
I volunteer for that.
Okay, good. We've got a committee of 3.
I also have a couple pieces to add to that improved communication. I wanted you to look at the senior center's newsletter, the chatter, or the current, sorry, on page 12. So we did put a little information about when these meetings are being aired, so that everyone is aware that they are on the City Cable Channel 10 on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. and Fridays at 9 p.m. And then also in the senior center, we have a vacant office right off of the lobby in the south building that we are creating a resource room. And what we're trying to do is get all the information that we have, that any individual can come into the center in the south building, go into that room and hopefully find information regarding transportation, information on some of these, Lurton's information regarding the ramps. So we're trying to get a gathering of ADRC books all in one spot, in one area, so that individuals can just come in, go to that room, get information, and they don't have to go all over the center trying to
Number on that room?
find.
Is there a number on that room?
It's right off the lobby, and it's really easy to see. There isn't a number, but we'll be listing that as the resource room.
Sign up there, too.
That's a
There
good
is,
idea.
okay.
So we are looking at having that in our May newsletter to let everybody know that that's available, but we do have it almost set. We also are using it too, if anyone has, for our sponsors of a variety of different programs that we run at the center, the sponsorships can put their materials inside that resource center also.
Functional now?
Just about. We are just gathering some of the information. So we do have all the Go Transit map on the wall and the information for Dial-A-Ride and some of the stuff that you guys presented in the last couple months, so,
Thank you.
sure.
Okay, under,
We had a couple others here. This has to do with the home repair program. I think that's been written up in the current as well.
Yes.
Good. And just to let people know, March 15th is right around the corner. That's the deadline for any applications for the home repair loans. It's a really, really helpful resource to people.
To the city.
The city,
City
yeah,
loan,
the
yeah.
city, yeah. And the gross income limits ranges from $37,950 for a single resident, so it's, you don't have to be penniless to be eligible, and up to $54,150 for a four-person family. So they should contact back to the city planning division at room 204 here at City Hall to apply for that. It's really a great resource, and they're no-interest loans, I believe, and are paid off at the time the house is, or the property is sold, so
It's a win-win situation.
it's a win-win.
Whereas I see it. Yeah.
okay. Just a reminder, we still have openings on this committee. Anyone that's interested can go on the city website under I Want To and find all the information, and things will be updated as time goes on. Our next meeting will be here on April 3rd. Any other business? Any comments? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.